Tonight, the federal election campaign starts this Sunday.
The government needs a strong and clear mandate.
The campaign turning into a tight race, and Canadians are tuned in.
I'm pretty excited, actually.
How prepared are the parties? And the wild card waiting in the wings. At Issue is standing by. The Delta flight that crashed, then flipped, was going too fast on landing.
The whole descent seemed to be off.
The growing questions for the co-pilot who was at the helm. CBC Marketplace joins forces with scam busters, targeting the fraudsters trying to steal your money.
I've actually got CCTV of the scam happening.
What happens when we disrupt the fraud in progress?
I'm calling from CBC Marketplace.
From CBC News, this is The National with Christine Barak.
Thanks for joining us. Adrian is away. Tonight, the speculation is over. Sources confirm the federal election call is coming on Sunday. One certainty now in a time of absolute upheaval. It's been looming for months, but suddenly the parties face a campaign landscape that few could have predicted. A critical decision about to be handed to Canadian voters as the country's economy, government, and sovereignty face brazen new threats. Ashley Burke shows us the state of play going into this election that has left some veteran pollsters shocked.
The Prime Minister hitting the ice with the Edmonton Oilers as he prepares for his next political play, sending Canadians to the polls.
In this time of crisis is that the government needs a strong and clear mandate.
CBC News and Radio-Canada have learned Mark Carney will ask the Governor-General on Sunday to dissolve Parliament, a day before it was set to return, triggering an election campaign.
And I haven't been Prime Minister for a week yet, and you can see what we've done thus far. We can do even more.
The Liberals are leading in the polls for the first time in almost 3 years. After Justin Trudeau resigned, Donald Trump threatened Canada, and Carney took power.
It's one of the most unprecedented shifts in public opinion we've seen in modern history.
Poll analyst Eric Grenier says if there was an election today, polling suggests the Liberals could win.
Maybe potentially getting a majority government that even Justin Trudeau couldn't get in the last 2 elections.
After losing some ground in the polls, the Conservatives leader pitching a way to fast-track big industrial projects and defending its decision to bar journalists from traveling on their campaign bus and plane.
We will have open media across the country. Local media will have the ability to ask questions. It will be refreshing to hear from local outlets on what they have to say about their local priorities.
It ends a decades-old practice and could make it harder for political journalists to attend campaign events and ask Poilievre questions.
He gets defensive, he gets offended, he can't handle questions.
The NDP's facing questions about its own future. Polls suggest it's getting squeezed out of the race, and even Jagmeet Singh's own ridings at risk.
We're not going anywhere. We're always going to fight for working people. We're not going anywhere.
That will be up to Canadians to decide when they cast their ballots this spring, and what we've seen lately is just how quickly and dramatically public opinion can change. Polls can also be wrong. It's all going to depend on the campaign.
Ashley, what else do we know about exactly when Canadians will be voting?
Well, sources tell CBC News and Radio-Canada this election campaign is expected to be anywhere from 5 to 7 weeks long. And that means Canadians could be heading to the polls either on April 28th or May 5th.
Thanks, Ashley. Ashley Burke in Ottawa. With the start just days away, Olivia Stefanovic gives us a look at how prepared the parties are for a grueling high-stakes race.
In this Ottawa battleground riding, an electorate electrified.
Yeah, man, I'm not surprised he's calling it. I'm glad, and I think I'm pretty excited, actually.
I think it's a good time to call the election.
Some voters already picking sides.
I'm really hoping that Mr. Carney and the Liberals are successful, because I think that, like many people, I am not in any way enamored with Mr. Poilievre's negativity. And I'm just not sure that the NDP at the moment are up to it.
With just 3 days to go, the parties are kicking their preparations into high gear and finalizing their candidates.
So, Prime Minister, thank you for coming home to Edmonton today.
Edmonton Mayor Amarjeet Sohi is expected to run as a Liberal, appearing alongside Mark Carney for a pre-campaign announcement. Another high-profile candidate now in the race for the Liberals, former journalist Evan Solomon.
Busy power in politics, you are where you need to be.
Throwing his name into the ring nearly a decade after CBC fired him, following reports he brokered art deals with people he interviewed, including Carney.
This campaign is not like any other.
It's a stark turnaround from just weeks ago, when the Liberals were having trouble recruiting candidates.
However, many of these ridings are very close, and in those cases, it could make a difference.
I want to bring it home, and that's why we need to put Canada first.
Their lead in the polls is narrowing, but the Conservatives are still far ahead in candidate nominations, followed by none other than the Green Party.
It is important to have a diversity of voices in Ottawa that stand up for Canadians, and the Green Party is part of them. So the last thing we want is to simply disappear from the face of the earth.
Polling shows the Greens and NDP are at risk of losing not just seats but party status. And with an election call expected Sunday, Canadians may have a little more than a month before Decision Day. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
Let's turn now to CBC News chief political correspondent Rosemary Barton. Rosie, already this election is looking far different from previous campaigns.
For sure. This is, first of all, not the election campaign we thought we were going to have just a couple of months ago. As you saw there in Ashley's story, the polls show that this is a real race between the Conservatives and the Liberals. The Conservatives have gone from a 20-plus point lead in the polls to basically now tied with the Liberals. So the campaign is really going to matter here. The Liberals are looking for a short campaign to try and ride the momentum they have, minimize risks and mistakes. And uniquely, of course, this election will not just be about Canada. It will be shaped by the threats from the president. An election about foreign policy and security is very rare in Canadian politics. But the one overwhelming ballot box issue right now, Canadians are asking themselves who is best placed to lead the country through economic threats and questions around the country's sovereignty. And they're going to have to consider what leaders are putting forward.
Mm-hmm. So that's an issue parties can plan their campaigns around. But what do you see as the wild cards here?
Couple of wild cards. Mark Carney has never led a federal election campaign before, only been a politician for 2 months, so untested on that front. Pierre Poilievre has also never led a federal election as leader, but he's been practicing for the past 2 years. The biggest wild card here is, of course, President Trump, who will insert himself into this election intentionally or not, and how parties respond to this could really upend the campaign, Christine.
Rosemary Barton, thank you.
Thank you.
And Rosie will have special coverage of the election call itself, joining Power in Politics host David Cochrane on Sunday on CBC Television, News Network, and CBC News Online. And later tonight, she'll be back with the At Issue panel, diving deep into the election, Mark Carney's first week as Prime Minister, and more in about 20 minutes. A woman has been charged with mischief after vandalizing the U.S. Embassy in Ottawa. The accused is part of an activist group called Last Generation Canada. It's demanding the formation of what it calls a climate disaster protection agency. The group has been responsible for multiple similar acts in recent days, including spray painting a Tesla dealership in Montreal just yesterday. And another Tesla dealership has been vandalized, this one in Hamilton, Ontario. Police say more than 80 cars were scratched up or had their tires slashed. So far, no arrests have been made. New tariffs from China are now in effect, targeting billions in Canadian canola, seafood, and pork. Canola is taking the hardest hit, with some products now facing 100% levies. Aaron Collins has reaction from farmers who fear this trade fight could cost them everything.
On the still frozen prairie, seeding time just a spring thaw away. Farmers prepping for another season of tight margins and fickle weather. But this year, foreign policy is top of mind on tractors too.
With China, I mean, that's a big hit, 100% tariff.
So that's the second biggest market.
Canada exports around $5 billion in canola products to China a year. That country's tariffs on canola oil and meal stings. A response to Canada following the U.S.'s lead, slapping tariffs on Chinese EVs, steel, and aluminum last fall.
These canola tariffs kind of slipped under the radar for a lot of folks.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not getting the attention it deserves. The canola industry, I mean, it's as big as the auto industry in Ontario, and this is not getting the attention that it ought to.
On the prairies, politicians are paying attention, pushing Ottawa to cut a deal with China.
This is the most urgent and pressing issue to the Canadian economy and to the Western Canadian economy.
A deal some worry could be delayed by a looming federal election.
We need action sooner rather than later. The longer tariffs go on, the greater the risk of them becoming permanent, the greater the economic loss.
Trade trouble with China here now. U.S. tariffs looming as soon as April 2nd, a potentially devastating double hit for the canola sector.
The uncertainty and the destruction of sort of the trust in these trading rules has, I think, done permanent damage. Even if tomorrow things went back to sort of the way they were.
For its part, the federal government says it will protect Canadian workers and support farmers. But back at that Alberta farm, a feeling that farmers are taking the hit for Canada protecting its automotive sector.
It always seems as from an agricultural side that we bear the brunt of the retaliation.
Canada's canola farms, the front line of a trade war, now being fought on two fronts. Aaron Collins, CBC News, near Airdrie, Alberta.
Donald Trump is making good on a promise to pull the federal government out of education and leave it to the states.
This is a very popular thing to do, but much more importantly, it's a common sense thing to do.
He signed an order to dismantle the $250 billion Department of Education, calling it wasteful and tainted by liberal ideology. Federal funding will continue for low-income schools and children with disabilities. Still, Democrats say they'll fight the move in the courts and in Congress. Well, new details tonight about what happened in the moments before a Delta passenger plane crashed at Toronto Pearson Airport last month. Thomas Daig now with what we've learned and the remaining questions about what took place inside the cockpit.
In the final seconds of Delta Flight 4819, new data shows the plane hurtled toward the ground at an unusually fast 1,100 feet per minute, setting off a warning alarm. Then this. Oh! The fiery crash igniting a cloud of jet fuel and sending the plane skidding upside down on the snowy Pearson Airport runway.
The whole descent seemed to be off. I remember telling my wife, we seem to be going fast.
The Transportation Safety Board releasing new pictures showing carry-on luggage that flew to the ceiling.
Come on!
And revealing some passengers were covered in jet fuel as they frantically tried to escape.
The report doesn't really go into detail is the conversation that took place in the cockpit between the pilot flying and the pilot assisting.
Investigators confirm the first officer hired a year prior was the one piloting that Bombardier jet, raising questions for those already suing the airline.
Why didn't the captain take over? Why was this person allowed to continue the approach, which was a bad approach? They should have gone around. She landed so hard that she collapsed the landing gear.
The TSB says the plane's nose was angled further down than recommended when landing, though the lead investigator isn't laying blame.
Everybody's been cooperating greatly
and hasn't yet determined a cause.
There's nothing indicating that the flight crew was not experienced. So, looking into their backgrounds is something more we'll do as to figure out why that accident happened moving forward.
Delta Airlines says it won't comment while the incident is still under investigation. The company is facing at least 9 separate lawsuits from passengers who all say they were badly hurt in the crash. Thomas Daig, CBC News, Richmond Hill, Ontario.
To the Middle East now, another wave of Israeli attacks has killed more Palestinians, bringing the death toll to nearly 600 in just 3 days, according to Gaza's health ministry. Hamas has now fired back in its first strike since fighting resumed. Sasha Petrusik shows us the devastating toll with some images that may be hard to watch.
In the north, neighbors pull bodies from houses just hit by Israeli airstrikes. Gaza's death toll quickly rising into the hundreds. Relatives crying out, "All my family is gone." In the south, they buried 2-year-old Omar. "My only child," says his father. "He was playing with other kids when Israel bombed our home." His mother had gone through 5 years of fertility treatments, only to lose him here. "I wish I hadn't woken him up to play," she says. Doctors at Nasser Hospital say they saw hundreds of women and children, mostly hit by shrapnel.
That's the kind of injuries that we're seeing. Very small but very powerful shrapnel that is penetrating people's bodies, causing injuries to their heart, their lungs, their abdomen, their brain.
For other Palestinians, this was a day of renewed displacement. Hundreds of thousands fleeing Israel's expanding ground operation, many from north to south. All part of an effort, Israel says, to pressure Hamas to release the remaining hostages.
Our forces now control central and southern Gaza, expanding the security zone and creating a partial buffer between north and south.
Hamas is now also pulled away from the ceasefire, firing 3 rockets toward Tel Aviv. 1 shot down, 2 landing harmlessly.
They are being held in conditions
leading to finger-pointing at the UN.
For 3 months, it was Hamas who stalled negotiations.
If anyone needed more evidence that Netanyahu could care less about the fate of the hostages, his decision to resume attacks against Gaza is the ultimate proof.
At increasingly confrontational protests, many Israelis also blame Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for abandoning the hostages, demanding that Israel's latest offensive stop. Sasha Petrusik, CBC News, Toronto.
Police in Canada and the U.S. are investigating a group of online predators that are targeting teens around the world.
I lifted up my shirt and I said, "Look what they've done to me, look what they've done to me."
Why police are alarmed about who is involved.
We're talking about 13-year-olds targeting 16-year-olds.
Scamming the scammers from the other side of the world.
This particular scam is in Pakistan.
CBC Marketplace joins forces with 3 scam baiters to take on fraudsters.
I need you to drive me to Sissel's.
And a Newfoundland town gets a role on a hit series.
I knew it was going to be something when they asked us about placing abandoned cars all around the town.
We're back in 2. The International Olympic Committee has elected its first female president. Kirsty Coventry won the job in a surprise first ballot majority, earning an 8-year mandate that begins this summer. Coventry is a former athlete who represented Zimbabwe. She is a 7-time Olympic medalist, including 2 golds in the 200-meter backstroke. An Alberta family is sharing their story about an online network of predators targeting children. The group is known as 764, and the FBI is now reporting a sharp increase in their activity. The Fifth Estate's Joanna Remiliotis, who first reported on 764 last year, has this investigation, but a warning. This story contains graphic details of sexual assault and suicide.
Trinity hides her scars, but can't unsee them.
I look in the mirror now and I still see that engraved in my chest. I really wish it wasn't there.
Trinity says she was forced to carve into her body by members of a violent online network of predators called 764. She says they also forced her to share sexually explicit images and even goaded her on when she attempted suicide.
I was having a mental breakdown and I lifted up my shirt and I said, "Look what they've done to me, look what they've done to me. I can't take this anymore."
Trinity reported her exploitation to the RCMP in Red Deer in July 2021. But she and her mother Maria didn't feel their case was being taken seriously until years later, when a detective in North Carolina started looking into Trinity's case.
Hearing Trinity say, "This is what he did to me," it still is hard to wrap my brain around.
For their safety, we're not using their last names.
Maybe they didn't take it serious that way because she was the one holding the knife, but it should have been taken serious.
Police say 764 and its related groups are terrorizing thousands of children around the world. Its members prowl on popular platforms and lure vulnerable minors into private groups where they push them to self-harm, hurt their pets, and kill themselves.
The most horrendous part about it is it's minors doing this to minors. And we're talking about 13-year-olds targeting 16-year-olds, 16-year-olds sextorting 11-year-olds.
Alberta police identified the first official 764 case in Canada last year when they arrested a 14-year-old in Lethbridge. Argentino says there are now likely members and victims in every province and territory, and the threat is moving offline. A recent school shooting in Nashville is linked to 764. Several stabbings in Sweden and the murder of an elderly woman in Romania are also tied to the group. The RCMP now calls 764 a terror threat.
There is active threat actors, including in Canada, that are actively engaging in violent acts on children and encouraging them to commit terroristic acts.
RCMP issued a public safety advisory last summer, 3 years after Trinity went to police.
I am glad that they're listening now. I don't ever want to watch another child suffer the way that my child suffered.
The FBI and the RCMP have spoken to the family in recent months, but no one has been held accountable for Trinity's abuse.
Joanna, it is shocking that most of these cases involve minors victimizing minors. What's next for those who've been convicted?
Many of them in the U.S. especially are serving long sentences, but here in Canada, the focus seems to be more on rehabilitation. So we spoke to experts in Edmonton who help reintegrate extremists into society. They're the first ones in Canada dealing with 764 members. Both are minors referred by the courts. And they told us often predators have their own history of abuse and that with the right intervention, they can develop compassion and empathy. And they say that's critical because they're so young. Without that intervention, the risk is they'll become more entrenched in their thinking.
Joanna Emiliotis, thank you.
Thank you.
The Fifth Estate's investigation airs tomorrow night at 9 p.m. on CBC television and GEM. You can also catch it on YouTube tomorrow afternoon. Scammers targeting Canadians may be surprised by who is on the other end.
What's the verification code for?
CBC Marketplace joins forces with some of the biggest scam busters.
I've actually got CCTV of this scam happening.
And Rosie is here with that issue.
Hey, Christine, tonight we'll unpack Mark Carney's first week as Prime Minister.
And I haven't been Prime Minister for a week yet, and you can see what we've done thus far.
But is his message resonating with Canadians, and are the other parties prepared for the writ to drop? Chantal, Althea, and Aaron Wary join me to talk about that and more.
For years now, our colleagues at CBC Marketplace have helped expose scams. But now they're taking the fight to the scammers by establishing a fraud fighting center with several of the biggest names in scam busting worldwide. David Common now with this exclusive joining of forces you won't see anywhere else.
You're hearing the scammers in your headpiece right now.
I am.
You're watching an anti-scam takedown in real time.
It looks like this scammer is able to see the victim's computer and they've logged into their bank account. On one account alone, there's nearly 250,000.
The stakes incredibly high, but the scenario routine for these three expert scam busters. They each have huge followings online where they disrupt overseas scammers. Now, for the first time, CBC Marketplace has brought together these three to take down scams.
I've actually got CCTV of this scam happening.
Jim Browning, that's an alias, has snuck into the security cameras of a scam center.
This particular scam is in Pakistan.
The scammers are targeting North Americans, tricking victims into revealing key credit details.
When they've got your personal information, they have done things like sign you up for a loan agreement, and they steal money that way.
Jim is working with renowned scam baiter Kit Boga, who uses several personas to scam the scammers.
What's the verification code for?
It's for verifying the phone number for your account.
You realize how bonkers this is, that he's scamming the scammer while we watch the scammer on the scammer's own video, which he doesn't know we're watching.
Correct.
While part of the game here is just to waste the scammer's time, The trio fighting back can also detect key details and report them to authorities. Their work has stopped millions in stolen dollars from reaching scammers. I'm calling from CBC Marketplace. You have called a scam center. So they are trying to get access to your computer from that. Okay, don't call them back. And if they call you back, just hang up on them. While they've become fraud fighters in a world filled with scams, even they acknowledge that it's hard to keep up. But it doesn't slow them down from trying and often succeeding. David Common, CBC News, Toronto.
And you can catch this marketplace investigation Friday at 8 p.m., 8:30 in Newfoundland on CBC television, or stream it anytime on CBC Gem. Now let's break down the week in politics. Rosie is here with that issue.
At issue tonight, Mark Carney's first week as Prime Minister, including a trip to Europe to shore up support for Canada.
I want to ensure that France and the whole of Europe works enthusiastically with Canada.
And a strategic trip to Canada's north.
We must invest in Canada's north.
So what's been made of Carney's first week in office, and do his trips give us any insight into his priorities? I'm Rosemary Barton here to break it down. Tonight, Chantal Hébert, Althea Raj, and Aaron Wary is in for Andrew Coyne tonight. Good to see all of you. Chantal, I'm going to start with you. What did you make of that first trip by the Prime Minister, choosing to meet with key European leaders before meeting with the President and then heading up north as well?
I think it was a smart move. For one, it kept Mark Carney on top of the news every day. Two, he touched all bases. You do well in Quebec when you go to France first. You do well in many parts of Canada when you go to the UK. And you do well overall when you go to Iqaluit and touch on Indigenous people. So basically, the symbolism behind it was interesting, but also the politics as in policy to say, Donald Trump. I'm not sure Donald Trump has said Mark Carney's name yet, but Donald Trump is threatening us. There are other things we can be doing. And by the way, I know there's a lot of significance to going to the Arctic. Can I just remember, because I'm the eldest person on this panel, that political leaders tend to go north before an election campaign because they can't use the time to go north during the election campaign, which is how I got to Iqaluit with Brian Mulroney and Jean Chrétien.
Yeah, and it's also much easier to go to Iqaluit when you have your a plane, the government plane, rather than your. Well, I guess you have rented planes, but yes, now all three of them have been to Nunavut before the election campaign, so wouldn't expect them to go back. You're quite right, Althea. What did you make of some of the signals that the Prime Minister was sending this week?
He was trying to send a message that this is a man of action. This is a man that's not going to wait on the sidelines. I don't think there was a lot of deliverables that came out of the European trip, but I agree with all the points Chantal made. The symbolism was important. Add to that, he had a meeting with Legault. He had a meeting with Ford. He had a meeting with Danielle Smith today. He walked in the St. Patrick's Parade in Montreal. He made announcements that brought the comparison against Pierre Poilievre. The announcement in Iqaluit was a reminder that when Pierre Poilievre went to Iqaluit, he announced a military base there without talking to anybody there about building a military base there. He stole the thunder out of the carbon tax campaign that Pierre Poilievre has been on for about 2.5 years by making his first move a cabinet decision that they were going to bring the price down to zero and eventually get rid of it. Again, this morning, Thursday morning, in Edmonton, he makes an announcement that's incredibly similar to Pierre Poilievre's housing announcement, but also adds on top of that he's going to boost the Home Accelerator Fund, which is something that Conservative MPs have asked the government for more money for their communities for. So it's been very smart tactically that he gets to use this week so Canadians get used to seeing him as Prime Minister in the Liberals hope that Canadians will like what they see and give him the job on a more permanent basis.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been an advantage for him, frankly.
It's been a huge advantage, and it will continue to be a huge advantage during the election campaign when you have Donald Trump levying tariffs on April 2nd, and Mark Carney being able to be, the liberal leader on the campaign, but also the prime minister making decisions.
Yeah, for sure. And I called you Andrew, I really did, but you're Aaron.
Yeah, look, I think the optics are obvious. I mean, look, that's not new. Every prime minister at one time or another goes abroad and gets a chance to look prime ministerial. I might suggest that he could, look inside himself and summon some patience a bit more patience when dealing with reporters. But other than that, I thought it went off fine and there weren't any major hiccups. I think, though, that, sort of beyond the optics, Althea is right that there weren't major deliverables in this trip, but you did, when he was at least back in Canada, have things like, the story in the New York Times about the Canada-EU military supply deal, the deal with Australia to invest in radar technology. I think those are concrete things, but I think it also really goes to sort of where policy and the conversation is going next. We've had the conversation, obviously, about how to respond to tariffs. But the bigger conversation is sort of where Canada fits in the world, how Canada should engage with the world. And that, I think that is really kind of the substance. And what really matters coming out of this trip is that you start to see sort of where, not only he seems to think we need to be going, but potentially where Canada will end up going.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I was on the trip, so that kind of struck me as well, is the intent to realign the country with other allies who have obviously major security and defense assets, and who could potentially help Canada if needed. I don't know whether you thought there was, regardless of the clear deliverables, it was the start of that conversation, it seemed to me, Chantal.
Yes, for sure. And it also sent a message to the Trump administration that there are other things that Canada can be doing in the world, and other people that it can deal with. I'll just go back to the bump in the road and the scrum. Why it should worry handlers of Mr. Carney is that after 2 days of very intense traveling, meetings, which were a lot more like a normal election campaign pace, to tell you the truth, than the leadership campaign ever was, he started to get testy and impatient and frustrated in scrums. And I'm thinking good luck on day 20, because that is what the future holds for Mark Carney. It's 30-some days of nonstop proximity to media who will be asking him questions that are unwelcome. Yeah. And when he will get the opportunity to kind of ruin his day's message by being testy and impatient. So I'm curious to see how he stands up to that scrutiny, because there is nothing like an election campaign. But those 2-3 days, they were more like an election campaign than anything he's seen during the leadership campaign.
For sure. Last quick word to you, Althea.
I'm sure his handlers are not happy that happened, but they should be thankful that it happened before the writ than during the writ, because now they have time to sit him down and tell him what a disastrous move that was and why he cannot do that. And they are trying desperately to have that contrast with Pierre Poilievre. And Mr. Poilievre stands and picks fights with reporters all the time and has this condescending, arrogant tone with the journalists whose questions he doesn't agree with. And Mr. Carney seems to have the exact same problem. It manifests in a slightly different way, but whether it's sorry, Rosie, telling you that your question is coming from a place of ill will, or today in Edmonton when he suggested that the answer to the question was the answer that he wanted to give and not the answer the reporter wanted to give. This is not a good look for him. And if he wants to be the Mr. Sunshine and optimism and compare against the dark gloom that Pierre Poilievre has, he cannot respond to journalists' questions that way, because they're all being live streamed to everybody on the internet and they see everything. They see everything the leader is responding.
Okay, we're going to leave that part there if we can. When we come back, we're going to look ahead to the federal election. It's really going to happen. Mark Carney is going to visit the Governor General on Sunday to dissolve Parliament and kick off the federal election. How will it unfold? That's next. At issue, a federal election campaign is about to kick off after the PM visits the Governor General to dissolve Parliament this Sunday, and the parties are already on the trail.
Who's going to put working people first? It's not going to be Pierre Poilievre. It's certainly not going to be Mark Carney. It's going to be us.
In this time of crisis is that the government needs a strong and clear mandate.
Mark Carney will back down, and his Liberal policies will keep Canada weak, just like Trump wants.
So how are the parties positioned ahead of an election call? What should we be watching for? Let's bring everybody back. Chantal, Althea, and Aaron. Aaron, I'll start you off because you didn't get 2 goes on the last one. What is exciting about this election is that it is a race now. It is not a foregone conclusion who is going to win, and that means that the campaign here will matter. What are you watching for as it kicks off?
I mean, we'll see initially how everyone tries to frame the ballot question. To a certain degree, there's a bit of commonality, I think, at this point, that everyone understands that Donald Trump and the state of the country in terms of how well we can withstand Trump are kind of the main issues. But, you know, if you look at some of the polling and, you know, not just the top line party numbers, but some of the individual polling on when Canadians are asked, you know, to compare the party leaders and in the context of Trump, there's a pretty clear advantage at this point for Mark Carney, and that seems to be reflected in the top line party numbers. So, you know, how does Pierre Poilievre sort of respond to that, I think, is the first big question, and whether he can, reframe this question in a way that benefits him. The Liberal rise has been so sudden and fast that it's, you know, I think fair to wonder whether it could, you know, fall back even just a bit. But at this point, it feels like a completely different campaign than we were having 2 or 3 months ago. And I think that the big question right now is whether Pierre Poilievre can some way recenter the campaign in a way that's more beneficial to him.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's not clear to me how soft that support is for the Liberals and Mark Carney, but it's very clear that the NDP and the Bloc are in big, big trouble. That seems to be a clear point. Chantal, your thoughts?
I think the NDP is the hardest task. Now that voters have seen someone who is leading the Liberals that could possibly beat Pierre Poilievre, that, and plus the Trump factor, that is driving their voters to the Liberals. And I'm not so sure that there's a strategy to stop it, but I know one thing. To use the strategy of I'm going to be the Prime Minister and like Jacques Meeting, it's not going to work. Yeah. Even diehard New Democrats don't believe that. The Bloc also has, the Bloc lives with the memory of the Orange Wave in 2011 and how it started strong in a campaign and disappeared. So if François Blanchet's job is more complicated than it used to be, the fear of a wave, if you look at today's numbers, they are really bad for the Bloc and really good for the Liberals. But a campaign in Quebec always makes a difference. Mm-hmm. So the argument that you want someone to check the next government so that it keeps Quebec interest in mind is easier to sell than Jacques Meeting's I'm going to be Prime Minister line. Right. I do think Pierre Poilievre has a problem in the sense that his CV does not make him the obvious person to deal with Trump. The Liberals traditionally have been the party that stands up to the U.S. Think of the Iraq War, think of Lester B. Pearson and Vietnam. So they do have claiming rights for that. And I believe that Mr. Poilievre stands to suffer from not having built a team. But maybe he's got one in his back pocket that we will see next week, and I will be watching for that.
Althea's shaking her head. That's not the case, Althea.
It's not from what I hear, no, unfortunately for them. I guess a few things. Pierre Poilievre's problem is twofold on the Trump factor. People don't think that he is going to be the toughest negotiator, this is what the polls suggest, toughest negotiator vis-a-vis Donald Trump. So he needs to be even more anti-Trump in some way than the Liberals, to be seen as tougher, to try to show Canadians, potential voters for the Conservatives, that he can bring that fight. At the same time, if he does become Prime Minister, That's a terrible position in the long run to be viewed as insulting, antagonistic to the American president. So it's kind of can backfire easily. The other thing is he risks alienating his own voters, his own voter base, who actually admire some of the things that Donald Trump is saying. So it's a very difficult position for him.
For sure.
The Conservative has also, frankly, they've been a victim of their own success. You know, they basically killed Justin Trudeau.
Yeah.
They killed the carbon tax, the one issue they wanted to run on, by being so successful in prosecuting it. And frankly, they kind of killed Jagmeet Singh too, by dragging out the coalition and tying him to Justin Trudeau and, you know, all these years of what they called corrupt government, reminding people or telling people, because I don't think this was true at all, that Jagmeet Singh was only in it for his pension. They destroyed the man. And they are as much responsible for the NDP being in the disastrous position that they are in than, in my opinion, many of the policy stances and strategic moves that the NDP has made.
Yeah.
How the NDP digs themselves out of it, frankly, I do not know, when the race seems to be a binary choice. But I also agree that that vote is incredibly fluid. Just like the Conservatives misinterpreted the support for Pierre Poilievre, thinking it was a support for the agenda Pierre Poilievre was vocalizing when it was really just an anti-Trudeau vote.
Yeah.
People believe in what they think Mr. Carney is selling or who he is.
Yeah.
And that vote, I think, can move. And the Conservatives, Pierre Poilievre here, I don't think believes that he will get another shot. And so this is going to be a scorched skirt campaign. They will throw everything at it. They will try to destroy Mark Carney. And I think that vote can move.
Yeah, I agree. I think also when you've had a 20, 25 point lead and you don't have it anymore, you're going to do whatever you can to still try and win. And so that might make it pretty ugly. Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, I think we still don't know how Mark Carney will hold up in an election campaign. And, you know, that would seem to be the one route available or obvious at this point for the Conservatives to get back into this would be for Mark Carney to falter, to take some positions that don't pan out very well, to have a kind of Turner in 1984 campaign. I think, you know, the challenge for Mr. Poilievre in seeing that possibly happen is that, you know, Mark Carney has sort of shrunk some of the policy differences, right? Even, you know, beyond the Trump question, the domestic policy options have sort of, you know, the carbon tax is off the table. The capital gains changes are off the table. You know, Mark Carney's talking about spending less and cutting back on the government. Yeah. But the Liberals have also still kept, you know, things like climate policy and social programs on the table that, you know, maybe Pierre Poilievre doesn't really want to fight on those grounds necessarily. So it's hard to know. So it's hard to know how Pierre Poilievre kind of tries to win this campaign in terms of what he tries to do to try to win it back. But it's also hard to know how well Mark Carney does over a 5-week sort of free-for-all.
Last minute to you, Chantal.
It's also hard to know how Pierre Poilievre prosecutes Mark Carney except by ads, and there is a limit to that with no media on his tour.
Yeah. Yes. So yes, you're right. And do you want to say more about that? The fact that he's not. So we're not allowed to travel with the Conservatives. Yeah.
I totally understand that the Pierre Poilievre would not want the media on his tour. The relationship he's had with journalists is so toxic that to imagine that they would all spend 30 days together on the same plane every day boggles the mind. But yes, you can talk to local journalists, but you need to get, if you're going to prosecute Mark Carney, you're not going to be able to do it locally.
Okay, thank you all very much. Appreciate it. That is at issue on the National. We're going to continue this conversation, though, and we've talked about him a lot already, but we're going to talk about him some more, particularly Donald Trump's comments about Pierre Poilievre. You can catch that on YouTube or the At Issue podcast. Now I'll send things back to Christine in Toronto.
Thanks, Rosie. Next, Newfoundland gets a grim makeover for a big role on the small screen.
It almost was a little bit deflating when you look at the Severance episode and say, oh.
Bonavista's cinematic moment in our moment. If you're a fan of the show Severance, this scene will be familiar, set against a grim backdrop in a town abandoned by the fictional Lumen Corporation. But what you may not know is that the sinister scene was filmed in Newfoundland's Bonavista Peninsula, which couldn't be more different than its eerie depiction. So tonight, Newfoundland's Cameo makes our moment.
I need you to drive me to Sissy's.
I thought it was quite something that they selected Bonavista. I thought it was phenomenal that they were taking a month to film one episode. I knew it was going to be something when they asked us about placing abandoned cars all around the town. I think they were shocked with the uniqueness of the place. You know, people like Patricia Arquette and Ben Stiller, had they been to rural Newfoundland before? Maybe not. Bonavista is very unique. It's a UNESCO territory now for its beautiful geology. We like to think in Newfoundland we are our own nation within Canada, and we have a unique identity. We've worked very hard as a rural community in rural revitalization and turning this town around. It's a fishing town, bright and colorful and lively. So it almost was a little bit deflating when you look at the Severance episode and say, oh, I guess this is what it could have been had it gone in the wrong direction and continued down that path.
And this isn't a one-off. Bonavista is used to Hollywood taking over their town. Lots of movies have been shot there. Peter Pan and Wendy and the shipping news. Such a beautiful country we live in. From all of us at The National, thank you for being with us. I'm Christine Birak. Take care.